Hello, today we're going to talk about sword fighting. But if you haven't seen my previous video of possible weapon skills you might have, I suggest you go watch that. Alright, and from the start of the video, I am going to talk about deconstructing combat. So, alright, let's just start off and just imagine that had no concept of what is combat. If you just boil down the essence of what is fighting, what is war, it's just one person doesn't like another, and they're just gonna try to hurt them. So the other person gets their way. So, way to do it, you could use your fist, or you could use a rock, or something connected to the rock, or just be more advanced, use a tool. So, come at a person who did you wrong, and you go bash them over the head. So, what if that other person had a tool or whatever, and they were gonna be like, I'm gonna bash you in the head. So right away it's like, oh, they're fighting back. So ways to fight back is not exactly, be much of a target. Don't be like a wall. Be like this. And you be more lean to the side and less of a target. So you know where they're going to be striking first, because it's the first available target is the side that you're displaying. Usually it will be the weapon side, and if you're using a shield, have that, and it'll be the first thing they will get in contact within their cone of weapon range. Your weapon range is a cone, and also same for your opponents, so you can easily, maybe not so easily sometimes, get in the edges of the cone by not being in the way of the tool. So it's like when you're in the cone, then you move outside their range. If they do, they're kind of a little extended, and there's an opening for you to go knock them in. So being bladed, having a weapon, maybe have something in the way of intercepting that weapon, or using that tool to intercept that tool. So a sword is better to intercept another person's, weapon compared to an axe or a mace, because that's over, development of weapons. It starts off with like a sharpened, rock. Then you put that rock on to a spear. And I think it just eventually evolved into, alright, a knife. Then like a longer knife, and so on and so forth, until it evolved into a sword. Of course, they use stone. They went to a more moldable type of substance that would be metal, bronze, and gradually to iron, to steel, and whatnot. So, the evolutions of weapons. And also, having the concept of, hey, I want to hurt them, but I don't want to be there and to be face to face with whenever I'm gonna be fighting. So I'm like, oh, I'm gonna throw a rock at it, or I'm gonna take this sharpened pole or this stick, and I'm gonna throw it at them too. So that's a good way, go at it. I'm like, more distance. Like I mentioned, you could take that sharpened stick and just keep them at a distance. Also keep yourself bladed. And bad part about, the sharpened stick. when they get right in your range, right in the cone, you have to back up, or they're right in the stick, away from the pointy end. It's like, it's hard to deal with if they just rush you. So, downside of pole arms. If you're really quick, you can pull out your knife and go stab it, stab. When you have spear. So, it's important to have the proper stance. If you don't, when you're doing your footwork, you'll be all clumsy, you fall down, or someone push you, you'll be vulnerable during a fight. So, standing in a 1 foot forward, 1 foot behind that at an angle, so it's similar to an L. That way, anyone's pushing you from the side or forward, you will be stable. And also, when you're having two weapons, not to cross them, to be all binded up. Same for a shield, so you can move around that. So keep that in mind. And it's also useful to be good at your non-dominant hand, just in case something might happen. Like, you could have had an injury, mundane injury on one arm or whatever, so you're not going to be completely useless. Or some mystical reason why you can't use that arm. So, chain up both. And another food for thought is, and we kind of, make a reference to last video, that, okay, you're good at, one techniques of this particular weapon. And it's important to practice, that technique you're good at, and also what you're also weak on. So level up your strengths and level up your weaknesses. It's definitely important. And alright, so footwork is important. I mentioned, try to get inside the cone, or it's important not to be in the cone and to go around the cone and make sure you defend in the cone. And one of the most simplest defenses is having your sword out. Always have it right in the way of any strike. Going this way, that way. Oh, you stab, you can go, it's like stab and go bloop. Knock the sword out of the way. So, and also, you're attacking someone, attacking them, just try to go around them and strike. It's also some fancy wrist movement. So footwork, wrist movement, it's good. And a lot of it, sword fighting in the wrist, arm, and try not to use all of your arm because you will tire yourself out really quick. I'm just going, swinging around. Just give it a try. Moving your arm, moving around compared to you get the same range, especially when you're using your wrist, right in the cone. But if you overextend your arm, it's like you have a second where you're vulnerable and you strike, and someone who would see that and bam. Compared to, and you can whole thing get more response time to the incoming blade. And also, while you're doing that, you can always step back So, not being there when the blade comes and when you're in a moment of, and you're like, nope, or whoop. So, show clips, side step. Alright, safety. It's important to fight safe. The head, the groin area, places of concern. So fighting safe for being on the defensive and offensive, side is keeping in mind that, try to avoid the head, try not to, go to shots, a little high, going above, it's frowned on. You're gonna hit someone in the head if you keep on going up. And you can go maybe a little bit of a downward angle if you're gonna that. But even if you're gonna go for a shoulder, it can go on up. Hit necks, headshots, not fun. And you can also put yourself in a position where you duck down into a headshot. A lot of new players are like, alright, I'm gonna go tack your feet. I'm going downward. And it's and right at someone's range of, striking, or hitting a torso, then someone's going down. And it's like, oh. So, try to, keep yourself upward. If you're gonna go strike downward, widen your stance a little bit. So you're going down, and you can also keep your head back. And just be mindful of, where your shot's going to be lying. And if you're fighting in poorly lit conditions or pitch black, can't see your hand conditions, just go low. Tack low. Just go low. Tack somewhere right around belly button-ish range is probably a good safe bet. So, depending on what LARP, they have certain safety rules in place, like in complete darkness, don't use archery because you don't know where you're firing at. So that can be conditional. And also always keep in mind, in a LARP, safety is number one. Well, that'll be it for part 1. Stay tuned for part 2 when we get to the meat and potatoes of combat, and I'm gonna do a little twist. Remember, stay hydrated.